Welcome to Bon Vivant Chic, Life Well Lived, the podcast for anyone who wants to cut through today's noise and just listen for a few minutes to meaningful conversations on the human experience and the power of connectedness. I'm your host, Ernestine Morgan, an advocate for kindness with a passion for showcasing human interest stories that matter. Today, I'm delighted to be sitting down with Mark Oliva. Mark is a notable award-winning jewelry designer and a third-generation entrepreneur. He is the president of MAVILO Wholesalers, a family-owned business established in 1983 as a Tampa-based diamond wholesaler and jewelry manufacturer. So let's get started. Mark, thanks so much for sitting down with me today.
Thank you.
Can you please share a little bit about where you grew up and what life was like?
I'm proud to say I grew up in Tampa with a very strong Cuban, Spanish, Italian heritage, which is common for most of the people originally from Tampa. Life was all about family, and there were friends that make you feel like family. In those days, there was no place you went that somebody didn't know you or know your family. Tampa was very much a small town, not like it is today. But I think that's part of most of the people you speak to from Tampa have that in common. Some of us from that heritage tend to have many, many things in common. And in Tampa, you've just felt like anybody and everybody was family.
Was your father the first generation?
Actually, my great-grandfather. My grandfather came from Cuba, but my great-grandfather was already here. And that's how he met my grandmother. He immigrated from Cuba. And he met my grandmother, and that's where he started in the tobacco business. Our heritage is definitely here in Tampa.
Tell me about some of your fondest memories growing up here in Tampa.
Tampa was all about traditions. The fondest memories are cousins, birthdays, summers on Anna Maria Island, Sunday church traditions, big Christmas Eve, the Noche Buena, we call it in the Cuban family, which is supposed to be all family, but it's family and friends and everybody coming for that night. That's where traditionally the men cook a pig.
Oh, you do? A whole pig?
Whole pig. You cook the pig in the ground. It's an all-day event. You're smoking cigars, cooking the pig, and then the party could start at 11 a.m. and it doesn't end till 2 or 3 a.m. So in the Cuban tradition, the Noche Buena, the Christmas Eve, there's really, you don't get up the next day. It's food, it's family, it's music, and it's just everybody coming together in a tradition that most of the Cuban culture and Latin culture. And what's great about Tampa is that all the cultures, whether you were Cuban, Spanish, Italian, almost kind of took that tradition and brought it together. And I'm a great example of that, where my mother's Italian, Cuban, Spanish, my father's Cuban. So everybody comes
together. Some good meals in your family gatherings.
That's what it's all about. Those memories really are the foundation of who you are as a person. I think the ability to connect with everybody in different cultures and just that security as a person. When you have that family and those friends, you can't take that for granted. I grew up when it was actually a small city, but it was very connected in its way. We've been lucky, I guess, to see the city expand and grow. It's not the city it was, but it does have some of that DNA that really makes it what it is today. You can't come to Tampa and not think of Ybor City, think of the great Cuban culture, the Italian culture. If you look around, all the historic buildings, those were all cigar factories. I think that draw to Tampa, and what makes Tampa really, really unique is that it's probably the only place in the world where the Italians, the Cubans, the Spaniards, the Jews, and the Americans all came together. That's the flair. That's the draw. Of course, we had great ports, great weather, but it just really, Tampa, it was a special place.
I know they're trying to revitalize Ybor also, aren't they?
They have for many, many years. Ybor's always had its struggles back and forth, but I think now, finally, as the downtown moves closer to Ybor City, and now Tampa General's building a hospital, there's a lot of development that sort of organically will feed off of the new development. I think anybody and most people that come to Tampa, when they go to the Columbia restaurant, that's...
Oh, yes. That salad, the 1904 salad.
1905 salad.
Or 1905. Wrong year.
Yeah, it's okay. Close enough. There's, of course, us having lived and being raised here. It's almost like I had a customer in the showroom the other day. They started to talk, and I asked him, I said, "Are you from Tampa?" He said, "How'd you know?" I said, "There's just something about a Tampa person I could tell."
Is that right?
I said, "What is your background?" He says, "My mother's Italian, my father's Cuban." I said, "There you go." We always tell everybody this is the Cuban sandwich. Have the roast pork from the Cuban, the pickles, the American, the ham, the Spaniard. If you look at what a Cuban sandwich is, the culture is thrown in the sandwich. And
yes, that's clever.
The memories are family. And the memories are the gatherings. And that's, again, our culture for most of, if you speak to anybody born and raised in Tampa, you're going to just get that sense.
So have you carried that through with your family too? Things are so different today, aren't they?
They are, but they're not. A lot of what we do is very similar, just done in a more modern way. Surely the parties aren't as big as they used to, although they, depending on who wants to carry the ball that year, then they are. But the tradition itself is exactly the same.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Maybe it's not done as big or in a different location. But I think if you ask my children, they would say absolutely. And I think most Tampa people, even Italian, Spanish, Cuban, they're still running the same traditions. Just go down to West Tampa 2 or 3 days before Christmas and ask them how many pigs they're cooking. So it's definitely, that night has a special place in everybody's heart, that Christmas Eve night. And definitely it surrounds around family and food and a great time. We're all the generations, whether you're the great-grandparents, the grandparents, everybody is just celebrating together.
What are some of your fondest memories of being a kid growing up in Tampa? You have the gatherings at Christmas Eve. What was it like growing up as a kid?
For me, obviously, the family is the understanding and the importance of the family business. You couldn't get away from it. My grandfather came here, immigrated with a third-grade education. So for him, education for everybody was really, really important. They were in the tobacco business, which Tampa was the cigar capital of the world. They were blessed to have a good business. With that being said, I spent a lot of time with them. And I got the opportunity at 12 years old to travel to Central and South America with them. And that was a game changer, because to see those countries at 12 years old is, I think for anybody, I think all children should go to a third world country at a young age and see how that transforms their life and how they really believe that this is the greatest country in the world at that young age. It also allows you to understand different cultures. Probably one of the greatest gifts my grandfather and grandmother gave me is that I learned to speak Spanish.
Wonderful.
And even in today's, I think it's probably one of the greatest things that I ever did. Not only understanding the culture, being able to communicate with different cultures that speak Spanish. Because when you speak Spanish, you can speak to Central, South American, even sometimes Brazilian, even Italian. So it really opens up your mind.
And that certainly has helped you in your business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who had the biggest influence on you when you were young?
My grandparents, and of course my parents and family in general. I spent a lot of time with them. I have to say that he was a self-made, very much whatever it took for him to succeed, into his relationship with my grandmother. They were married 68 years.
Wow.
Help his family. He was a very, very wise person, very, very intuitive. I have to say that when I look around, I look at his intuition and I look at things he did. And if he hadn't done what he did, none of us would be here today. I wouldn't be speaking to you. Even my father would say in business, he'd look to my grandfather, hey, what's the next step? That's that wisdom or that intuition.
What was your first job and how do you think it shaped you?
I have to say I'd never worked for anybody in my life. My first job actually was I started a small landscape company with my cousin.
Did you?
And probably 13, 14 years old, we borrowed his grandfather's truck. And we went around the neighborhood and we did landscaping. I knew this wasn't a long-term plan, but as that kind of got old, near our house, there was a jeweler. So I just walked in one day. I just walked in the store and said, hey, Tampa was small. He knew my family.
Yeah.
He kind of needed some help. So I said, well, let me help you in the store and let me take this and sell this and that and the other. So I felt like I kind of had a knack for it. I kind of liked it. It was exciting. It had creativity in it. But at that point, I wanted to expand more. I wanted to do more. And at 14 years old, I asked a customer of mine, she was a travel agent. I said, can you book me a trip? I want to go to Miami and start to buy some merchandise.
Oh my gosh.
So I went down to Miami, family down there. They picked me up at the airport. I stayed at their house. I had a couple $1,000s. I spent it and came back and sold it all.
Wow.
Most of all of those people that I sold to back then are still customers today. You know, that was kind of the start of something that ignites and said, I have a knack for this. I like it. Throughout Jesuit and University of Florida and St. Thomas University, I continued the side hustle. School was never 100% my thing. Since I was 12, 13, I just wanted to work. I did school because I had to do it. And I went to great schools and got average grades. And I was at an early age, I was what they would diagnose as dyslexic. You have reading disabilities. Later come to find out some of the most brilliant people in the world are dyslexic. And, you know, it wasn't anything to hold you back. It was just something that you really didn't think much of. You just did what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've really never worked for anybody. I don't know if that's an advantage or disadvantage, but it's the plan that God had for me.
How did you get into jewelry making? You are so talented. Creative, amazing. I've seen some of your work at the store and on people, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
You have to have a love for it, and I think you have to have a connection with people. If you don't really understand somebody's style or understand how they're going to wear something or what they're comfortable with, You can't design in your own space. You have to design in everybody's space, but you have to do it right. And it comes over time and learning. And of course, technology has changed our ability to design today because we can use computer-aided design, 3D modeling. But at the end, you can have all of that. But if you can't connect to a customer, then the design's not going to translate. If you have access to materials, whether it's diamonds, sapphires, rubies, emeralds, first and foremost, we had to travel the world. We had to go find the material. And in today's world, you can kind of produce things, but you have to be able to produce them in a way that are attainable. Mm-hmm. So we all love Harry Winston and we love all the masters, but are we walking in and buying that every day? Not really. So what we try to do is make things accessible and make things that really become heirloom in a way that you really see people wearing them. Mm-hmm. And of course, we have our hoarders that just love to buy. They just want the treasure chest.
So you started out selling wholesale diamonds, jewels to jewelry makers, and then you got into making jewelry yourself?
When I graduated from Florida and then went to the Gemological Institute of America, when I came back, I had been trading with a gentleman for years. He was a great guy, but he wasn't a business person, but he was very smart. And when I came back, I asked him, would you want to start a business together?
Oh, okay.
He was very intelligent. He knew diamonds. He was somewhat well connected. Didn't have the business savvy, how to run the business. So I got a partner and we actually started to buy liquidations from Home Shopping Network. That's how we initially started to build. We would buy the liquidations. We came to my father's office in Ybor City, clean all the merchandise, retag it, and take it back out on the road and resell it. So we were one of the first companies to have laptop computers on the road with the salespeople. We were one of the first people to have barcoding on. Oh. But what happened was that dried up. Okay. To sell at some point. I had to go to Thailand. We had to travel. We had to go around the world to start manufacturing because we had built a market in the wholesale. Mm-hmm. That's where it all began. I actually took my wife for the first trip. We weren't even married yet. Got on a plane and flew to Thailand. She goes, what are we doing? I said, we're going to go travel and we're going to go explore. I said, we're going to have a great time, but I'm also going to spend 3 days at a trade show. We had a blast and it was an eye-opener. The people were so nice. The craftsmanship was unbelievable. The gems were beautiful and they wanted to do business. I was young, energetic, and I came back with $20,000. The gems were the things that I thought were beautiful and the value. And we took it to the road. We sold it all in a week.
That's amazing.
That's where we started to expand from there. Thailand, Hong Kong, India, Japan. So really 35 years of travel and just expanded our accessibility to different merchandise and different craftsmanship. That opens up your mind. And many times if you've come in, oh, I know where that's made. Oh, I know where that craftsman, who's going to do that? That's 90% of trying to execute a piece of jewelry is knowing who's going to make it, how it's best assembled, how it's made, where the material comes from. And you couldn't do that without the experience of the travel. From there, we expanded. We eventually had 5 salespeople traveling all over the country. We were full-fledged in the wholesale business. And back then, there was no online. Most of the things were bought at a trade show. We had an unbelievable staff, many of which are still with us today, that were servicing those customers. And so we coexisted in wholesale and retail. We're from Tampa. We had a built-in customer base, but we were pretty much 70-30, 70 wholesale, 30 retail. But we always did one thing that I want to say is still today a cornerstone of our success. We really focused on value. And I don't like to use the word often, but we kind of took the playbook from Costco.
Oh, is that right?
We did. Make something, sell it at the right price, and sell more of it. We still use that motto today where we do not use traditional markups. We're in our flagship location here in Tampa. We're one of the only stores in the country that actually post 90% of our merchandise is posted in the showroom. It really allows people to comfortably look and shop and understand because we have nothing to hide. We, at that point, got the opportunity to actually get a very large account on the back end of the TV business. At the time, it was Gem Shopping Network. We made our way in there. And then for the next 25, 27 years in that range, we were one of the largest suppliers at Gem Shopping. We had our own hosting. We had all of our own shows. We built software that kind of integrated. And that was really a whole nother level. Yeah, it was a ride. It was a really interesting ride. And we learned so much because they challenged us to learn much more about gemstones and stones that I'd never even heard of before, even coming from a gemological background. So again, it gave us another opportunity when somebody came in and asked for a Paraíba tourmaline or asked for a mandarin garnet or asked for a horsetail inclusion demontoid garnet. I know all about this. So it really expanded our ability to communicate with other clients because they also love those gemstones. Always taking that to the next level, learning more within the industry, building those relationships on the supply side globally was a great ride, but it was also very rewarding.
You've built an amazing business, been around 40 years, and you've mentioned already a few of pivotal moments that really stand out to you. Are there any rewarding moments while building your business that you still can reflect on and have held on to and looking into the future?
Not to be cliche, if you will, but sometimes the most rewarding times when you have the perfect team. Like everything's just ticking and you see everybody succeeding together, right?
100%.
And I'm happy to say we're kind of there right now and I'm having fun with it. One of the highlights, if you will, is when our company got accepted to exhibit one of the largest trade shows in the world. It was very difficult to get in because there was no internet.
Oh, wow.
So you had to exhibit.
Yeah.
And they accepted us. For us, that put us on the map, if you will. When we decided to move our location from West Tampa, today it's Midtown, we got the opportunity to buy our building and open a flagship location in South Tampa. That was the beginnings of this kind of wholesale direct concept and taking it more to the public and maybe moving away from our wholesale roots a bit. But with that being said, that led us to be voted and recognized by the community as Tampa's top jeweler.
Congratulations.
So that's, again, a proud moment for us and for the team because you earned that.
Absolutely.
I would say another thing is that the whole diamond industry completely changed. Traditionally, you would see the diamond bourse that people would see where you saw people buying traditionally at trade shows or traveling and picking those diamonds. That's old school. You couldn't do that anymore. The global supply chain, it drastically changed. More of the De Beers are selling to site holders, and then site holders, which were based in India, started to technically giving more information. So we took a big leap of faith and invested a lot of money and decided to come up with something called MAVILO Net. We created a network that interconnected the data with all the site holders.
Oh, wow.
That was a big change because we had no way to access the supply. It was coming online. So for us, we buy everything and then sometimes we broker it. So we had to be able to deliver value to the customer, kind of the main thrust behind this. And a year later, our business doubled when we deployed it. So it was a worthy investment and it was definitely a rewarding moment of sometimes you got to take the leap of faith in business. Go with your
risk,
with your
right?
instinct.
Yeah. Where does the name MAVILO come from?
It's Oliva backwards with M in front.
Oh, yeah. It plays on your dyslexic.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think you're probably the first person that ever said that way, but I love it. I'm going to steal that from you.
Not so bad.
Actually, my dad came up with that.
Did he?
Yeah, maybe that's what he was thinking. He never told me. It's funny because if you are standing in our showroom and you look at it backwards, you can actually read it. So yeah, it's MAVILO and kind of an unusual name. Some people can't pronounce it in certain ways, but it stuck, it works, and we've just kept it.
I think it's great and a wonderful brand. I'm sure there have been pivotal moments or decisions that changed the course of your life. Is there one that really stands out to you?
From a personal standpoint, having children is a game changer.
Yeah.
I have two children, Chase and Carolina. And that, as a business person, it's not about you anymore. It's about your family. So you start to change your priorities. But from a business point of view, when we decided that it was time to get out of the TV business and to focus on this location that we had, that changed not only how I traveled, what I did, how we operated, but we decided to sell that business.
Oh.
And in 1998, we sold the business. It was 50% of our business. The pivotal point there was a lifestyle and realizing that business had changed and that we couldn't run that play all over the world and have sort of balance in your life. And this is where, as a business person, sometimes I thank God and I thank my family for that you stay grounded, because sometimes if you don't do that, things don't always go the right way. But we sold the business. We put our focus into the showroom, and I think it was one of the greatest decisions we ever made.
Wonderful. What lessons about family and relationships would you pass along to the younger generation? You mentioned your children.
I think the most important decision, and I've said this in my daughter's speech, I think it's who you decide to spend the rest of your life with, who you marry. I mean, that's your partner. Also, family comes first. You can't pick them out of a catalog. Remember the words glue and rock as you get older. That becomes more meaningful. You know, you have to do all that you can do to keep everybody together, regardless of their differences. And I think my grandfather and father both did an unbelievable job at that. Make sure you know your children's friends and their family really well. That's, again, those relationships organically through your life is what kind of holds everything together. And love your parents, honor your grandparents, and cherish your friends, because at the end, success is nothing without that together. Make important memories. When you look back, all you have is memories, and you can have all the success in the world, but if you're not respected, and I think that's the magic word there, it's about respect. And I think my grandfather, my father, and I try to do the same thing, is at the end, respect is what I think is the greatest legacy.
Well said.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. What are some life lessons lessons you've learned that you wish you knew earlier?
I think the old saying, I wish I was 20 and knew what I do today. That's a fact. I think from a business perspective, stress never built a better business. And entrepreneurs by nature are just people because they're on the go. They want everything immediately. I think invest in the best people and don't tolerate disruptors. Do it early and hire the best of the best of the best and surround yourself with the best. Focus all your energy on why you got in your line of work. Why do I do this? And when you start getting away of the why, that's when you're probably not going to succeed. Sometimes your investment takes time to pay off. Entrepreneurs not always are patient, but stay the course. You got to stay that course. And I think one of the biggest lessons, it's okay not to do business with everybody. Every customer is not for you. It's okay. At first, you want to take it all. I think most of us in business will look at back and say, well, we shouldn't have done business with this group or this company. And we could have focused on, again, why we got in this. I just believe that you're going to have great times and bad times. Just keep yourself grounded through the good times. Everybody's going to make mistakes. None of us are invincible, but it makes you better for the next step in your life when you're grounded and your next career move. For those that are maybe starting a business or are in transition within a business, I look at our own business sometimes and I say, sometimes you get caught in the trenches, but I say, spend some time with your customers. Even when you reach the point that you're not in sales, spend the time with them, understand what they want, and then spend a week in your business as a customer, not as an owner, because some of the smallest changes that we ever made in the business had the biggest impact. And they were by just looking back and reflecting and saying, I'm a customer now. And then people will start to believe you the more success you have with change, even if they don't believe in the change. If they didn't believe it was right, and then you had the success and guided them right, then that's the definition of a leader, is when to shift and change.
Knowing when to pivot.
Knowing when to pivot.
Terrific.
That's some of the things.
What advice would you give someone interested in a career in, let's say, jewelry design or jewelry wholesale, retail?
First of all, you have to have the passion for it. If this is not your passion, then you don't want to force that. I would say go work with somebody, together with somebody in a company that is aligned with where your interests are. There's so many aspects within the jewelry business that could interest somebody, whether it's design, whether it's merchandising, whether it's more on a corporate side of understanding internet sales. There's so many opportunities in the business today. Of course, gold has gone up and down for up to $5,600 an ounce. That's a game changer, the industry. Again, work with somebody, work in a company, move around to different companies. But at the end, I would say that our entire staff and all the people that I work with have one thing in common. Everyone loves the business.
That's fabulous.
And everyone has a genuine passion. And I think another side is they just love people. They like sharing those moments in their life with them and being a part of people's life through engagements and through anniversaries. And even, I think one of the greatest compliments you can get from anybody who's a jeweler after being in this so long is that you're still the trusted jeweler. They trust you. I'm not saying it's like ministry in a way, but we know so much about these people. People that are going to go into that business have to have a genuine interest in people and be able to connect with them. Absolutely. And that's what makes it fun.
What do you think is a secret to a fulfilling and happy life?
I would say in my business, I've learned something real is happy wife, happy life. That's for sure.
I call her right now.
Exactly. I think she's pretty happy.
Where'd you meet Heidi?
I actually spotted Heidi. We went to a Miami, Florida State game. We were in Fort Lauderdale for the weekend, and I spotted her, and I looked at her and I said, God, that girl is unbelievably beautiful. Who is she? And my friend Scott said, that's Heidi Messerschmidt. And I said, wow, she's just beautiful. How could I connect with her? The next day at the game, I went to get a beer, and she was standing right next to me.
Wow.
So I looked at her. And I said, I know where you were last night. You were Shooters.
That was good pickup line.
Right. She thought I was some stalker. After that, Scott connected us.
Oh, that's great. Love at first sight. Isn't that beautiful?
Definitely, she was in the cards. And she's been a huge part of my life. She's an unbelievable mom and wife and keeps me grounded with a last name like Messerschmidt. Let me tell you, now, I guess the first date we went on, she challenged me unexpectedly. She goes, I bet you can't spell my last name. Well, I was obviously dyslexic and spelled anything. I looked at her and said, Messerschmidt.
And you got it?
And I got it. That's all she wrote.
That's great.
And that was the grace of God, how I pulled that out. I have no idea. It's funny how you marry and you're so different, but yet you're so connected, and how important that you fall in love initially for, obviously there's attraction and there's respect and you see what you do, but you start to fall more in love with somebody as you see the person they are over a life, how they are as a mother, how they are as a friend, how they are when their mother's passing or somebody's going through a difficult time, or your parents live next door to you. You have a wonderful wife to live next door to your parents. I feel blessed. I had a better upbringing, a better life, a better career. Now, it's time to celebrate the good times and be thankful. And like I say, take the knee and thank God every day. I think first and foremost, you have to worship a higher power. No matter who and how you worship, you have to worship a higher power. You have to have your family as top priority. It is the foundation of your life. Especially as you get older, you realize that things just happen so quickly. You wake up one day and you're 60. You wake up one day and you look back, you're like, what happened? But most of what happened and most of what makes you happy is, yes, you might have had success, but it's your family. And looking back, you look at my parents. I turned 60 last week.
Congratulations. You're catching up to me.
Don't feel 60. We were all at dinner and we randomly send a text out. So maybe it was short notice, but everybody showed up. And here we were at the table. And I look at my parents at the end, and you're speaking of fulfilling life. My parents get sent at the end of that table and look back, and they created all of that.
Oh, beautiful.
Everybody was together.
Yeah.
You also have to feel accomplished in whatever you do as an entrepreneur. So you have to surround yourself with people that follow your dream. I married Heidi, who always let me follow my dream. My mother, my father, my grandparents, my friends, everybody was always 100% behind me.
That's wonderful.
So that to me, you might be different. You might do things different. You're different than your brothers. You're different than your friends, but they stand behind you no matter what. And I also say this because it's part of my dad. I come from this background. You have to focus on mental and physical well-being. I think that's critical as an entrepreneur. You have to stay healthy. It's hard sometimes because it's easy to get in that rut, but mental and physical well-being is critical to, I think, at least for me and my dad. You look at him, he's 84 years old. He works out 7 days a week.
That's awesome.
It works in tandem, the mental and the physical. Set a great example. So the respect is what becomes your legacy.
What keeps you motivated and inspired to do what you do every day?
I think what happens as you get older is you become very, very confident. And then inspiration is doing what you love to do. And then knowing that you're kind of really good at it and that a customer or a company is getting a huge benefit from it. So that reward, focusing on why you got into it. And then all the parts coming together with that, seeing your team flourish in an environment that kind of provides that opportunity. I think most entrepreneurs would say that they love to be the model of the industry. That's such a great inspiration, motivation. I'm proud that we have created a model here and that we've surrounded ourselves with an inspirational team that is forward thinking and that always challenges us, me, all of us to think ahead. Working with young people is the greatest thing in the world, and especially in this world of social media and technology and AI. So we embrace it. Keeps you young.
That's
keeps
wonderful.
you motivated. At some point, you realize it's not all about the money. You're doing it because you love to win the game. And I think most of entrepreneurs will, if they can do what they love and win the game along with it, the game gets a little easier.
That's wonderful. I've been involved in the philanthropic space for quite some time, and philanthropy means different things to different people. What does philanthropy mean to you?
I'd say philanthropy is probably one of the greatest rewards of success. I highly recommend, and I came from a philanthropic background. My grandfather and father have been big philanthropists in different ways, but start philanthropy immediately. The payback is 100-fold, not just financially. The reward in who you are as a person and who you are in the community, people really, the sensibility for that. You can't be a great entrepreneur without being empathetic and without being philanthropic in some way. Remember, every day in business is an opportunity for philanthropy. You might not be writing a check to somebody, you might be giving, you might be advising. I think of philanthropy, there's a very prominent local philanthropist once told me, and this was probably only 5 years ago, as we were walking out of their house, she looked at me and said, the power of giving is as strong as the hands of prayer.
Beautiful.
And I think I've used that many, many, many times. I think that sums up what the meaning of philanthropy is. You give in different ways. I used that in a speech that I had to give at the Villa Madonna, which I'm on the board there with the Salesian Sisters.
Oh, I love that.
But philanthropy is probably one of the greatest rewards of success. And you don't even have to be, success is interpreted differently anyway. Sometimes it's not money, it's time, it's an idea. And it just, the reward, and you just feel like you're getting the door's a little bit more open to heaven. Remaining humble and grounded in your most successful times, and remember where you came from.
Beautiful. Thanks for sitting down with me today.
This was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Bon Vivant Chic, Life Well Lived. I hope you'll tune in for more meaningful stories on the human experience and share with family and friends. A special shout out to Will Cooper out of Nashville, Tennessee, for providing this season's music. All the episodes are available wherever you listen to podcasts, including my website, bonvivantchic.com. Till next time, remember, every day is a gift. Live it with kindness.